Greetings, YouTube. I am a bargain hunter. And part of that process is trying to find estate sales and yard sales and things like that, and then figuring out the fastest and best way to get to them. So I will often come up with a list of yard sales that I want to visit on a Saturday or Sunday morning. I will then figure out the route that is the best route to use, and I do that by using Google Maps. So I'll have multiple maps, and I kind of look at them. Okay, it makes sense if I do this, or if I go this way, or I'm heading in a single direction because I'm heading up to an estate sale somewhere. Then I'll come back another way. And so yeah, that's the calculations I do, and the plotting that is part of what I enjoy. I really admit this, but still, it takes effort. It takes time, and in the process, I have noticed something. And one of the things I noticed just the other day while plotting a distance to a place is that the place in question was 2.3 miles away. Now, I am horrible with directions. It's why I have a GPS. Not only does it means that I can get to all kinds of places by myself that I couldn't otherwise, but it also has reduced arguments between my wife and I because we did not do well in the car together when we were trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B in the past before we had a GPS. So now if I get frustrated about the directions, I'm getting frustrated at GPS, which is much better than getting frustrated with my spouse. It's not my spouse's fault that I suck at directions. So the 2.3 miles in question would have taken me 6 minutes by car. All right, but sometimes the Google Maps will give you alternative routes, but it will also sometimes give you alternative means of transportation. Not always. I don't know what the actual algorithm trigger is to do this because it doesn't do it all the time. It doesn't always tell me the walking route. It doesn't always tell me the bus route, but it sometimes tells me those things. Particularly if I'm really close to home, it'll tell me if it's a walking route. And just because it's close to home doesn't mean I'm not necessarily going to take a car. If I'm buying things, I want to have some place to put them. So I looked at this and it said 2.3 miles, 6 minutes in a car, awesome. But then it showed me the bus route. And the bus route was 1 hour, 17 minutes. That's a big difference. I could walk it in 45, maybe 40. I'm out of shape. Okay? But if I wanted to take a bus, it'd take me 1 hour and 17 minutes. Now you might ask, well, if you didn't have a car, why wouldn't you just walk it? Well, there could be weather considerations. When I was without a vehicle, I was essentially living single at the time. So it was just me having to get from point A to point B to get groceries and laundry and things like that. So it wasn't much of a hassle, though, again, in inclement weather, it did kind of stink. But what if you're a single parent with kids? Or even just a regular parent with kids and you're doing childcare at that moment? If you're going to get kids from point A to point B, you may be able to afford to take them on the bus, but you're definitely not going to be able to get those kids on a foot in the same time with the same materials taking with you and coming back, because if you've got kids, you're taking things with you to support those kids as well as bringing those things back with you along with whatever you've acquired in the process. So the bus may be the only way to do that. And that means it's 1 hour and 17 minutes there and 1 hour and 17 minutes back if you can time your day around the bus schedule to make sure you can get there and back within the time the buses run. So why am I talking about this? Because when people say that everybody's got the same 24 hours, it's a line of bullshit. Because we don't have the same 24 hours. No, we do not. For me, that trip there and back is 12 minutes out of my life. 12 minutes. That is fewer than the number of minutes in the journey by bus, 1 hour and 17 minutes. So it would take me less time to get from my home to the destination and back in less than 17 minutes. And that's really important to remember, that we don't have equal time. Do you have someone doing childcare for you? The answer is no, then you don't have an equal amount of time. It's that simple. We don't. And the more money you have, the more time you have. If I were far less well off, I wouldn't have a car. I'd have less of my life. And I'd be at the mercy of a transportation system, and in my city, the public transportation system sucks. It is horrible. And they're in this horrible loop for a long time. It was like the system sucked, the ridership wasn't high, so they reduced the system, which would reduce the ridership, which then they say, well, we need to reduce the system some more. It didn't. The big brains never seemed to make the connection that if you expanded the system and made it easy, cheap, and readily available at all kinds of times, that you would increase usership. No, that never seems to have occurred to any of them. It baffled me then, and I'm glad I don't have to use it anymore, because I've had a driver's license since I was a month shy of 36 years old, so I've been driving for 20 years now. I'll be 57 in a couple of months. So I'm really not, and I'm really amazed, I should say, that this kind of a meme pops up again and again and again. How everybody has the same 24 hours, because we don't. You don't have that if you don't have a car. You don't if you don't have childcare. You don't if you don't have a place to live that's close to your home, because the only place you can afford to live is far away from your home, because if you wanted to live close to your home, it costs more than you can live with the money you get paid. So we don't have equal time. And we need to make sure we never forget that everyone's life should be considered to have the same value. And our lives should not be viewed through the lens of the rich people get to have more of a life than the poor people do.